MAPC meeting. I would like to call for announcements at this point.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the Planning Department. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the District Court.
Keep forgetting that. You're going to have to give me a hot mic. That's all there is to it.
We're working on my wife's.
Before we do the roll call, I would like to introduce a new member of the Planning Commission. Tony Zimmelman will be taking Rob Hartman's place. Tony, welcome to the board, and can you give us a 30-second review of who you are?
I'll be happy to introduce Tony.
Oh, they work. All right. Yes, I'm Tony Zimbelman. My background is mostly construction. I was in commercial construction for 10 years, and I've been in home building business for about 30 years. In between there, I actually work for the city in the budget office, which some of you may not even know, but I have an accounting degree, so that's basically my background. My 30 seconds are up. Thanks.
Thank you, and again, welcome.
Welcome.
Now, let's have a roll call.
Yes, sir. Duell.
Here.
Foster is absent. McKay.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Bill Johnson.
Here.
Blick.
Here.
Nix is absent. Fox. Here. Warren.
Here.
Joe Johnson.
Here.
Miles. Miles is absent. Zimbelman. Aldrich,
Here.
Williams Bay.
Here.
Sir, I show 3 members are absent and 11 members are present.
We have a quorum. At this point, I'd like to call back Scott, if you would. I think you have a board member certificate of recognition and comments at this time.
All right, thank you, sir. So everyone, greetings and good afternoon. Today we have an opportunity to recognize 2 individuals who have served on the Planning Commission. We have Mr. Hartman and Ms. Cunningham. I believe Mr. Hartman's here. I don't believe Ms. Cunningham has made it, but we'll make sure to get her certificate. But this is our opportunity to say thank you for their service to make Wichita and Sedgwick County even better. As many of you know, serving on the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission requires dedication, thoughtfulness, perspective, focus, and the ability to consider both near-term and long-term results of decisions. The decisions and recommendations from the MAPC can have long-term impacts on the health, wealth, education, economics, and more. They can have significant impacts for both property owners and their neighbors. In addition, individual cases can be passionately debated by stakeholders, which can make reaching a decision difficult, especially when there are good arguments for multiple options. We know it can be difficult, and it is a significant commitment to attend at least 36 meetings a year with very few weeks off, where significant cases and issues can be deliberated for multiple hours. Our records indicate that Mr. Hartman served on the MAPC for more than 7 years, and this accounts for approximately 252 meetings. Ms. Cunningham served for a little more than a year, which equals approximately 48 meetings. So this is really just an opportunity to say thank you for their service and to recognize them for that dedication. So thank you both. And as a token of our appreciation for your service, we would like to present each of them with a service recognition certificate. So Mr. Hartman, if you'd come up. And you have an opportunity for a rebuttal. So.
I've always wanted that. No, I've been in this building here several times over the last 30 years, partly on the private side and partly on the planning commission side. And it's been a joy to work with everybody here, especially the commissioners I've worked with. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and the staff has just been top notch. So you're in good hands, and thank you very much. I appreciate it all.
Rob, it's been nice working with you. Is Miss Cunningham here?
She is not, but we have a friend and neighbor who has volunteered to take her certificate to her.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on. The next item is approval of the prior MAPC meeting for September 28, and I show that Nix was absent. Could I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second. Okay, we have Joe Johnson moving and Mr. Aldrich second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll need to note for the record that Mr. Zimbelman will also be abstaining since he was not at that meeting.
That's correct, I'm sorry. The next item is the meeting of October 12th, and that is deferred to November 9th. So we'll take that up next time. I would like to state at this point that we have a Board of Zoning Appeals agenda. However, the case that we were going to look at BZA 2023-00048 has been withdrawn, so we will not be having a BZA meeting today. Okay, so now we'll move on and see what we can take on consent. First item is sub B 2023-00012, revised plat, final plat for Pineway Edition. Is there anyone on the commission that wants to hear this case? Not, we will take that on consent.
You have to ask for public comment. If anybody in the council, in the chambers wants to hear it.
Oh, okay. Does anyone in the chambers want to hear it? If not, we will take that on consent. We're going through a new agenda because this is the first time through where only people that are present here are able to speak, so bear with me. Second one, 2.2 is one-step final plat for Mays 54 Second Edition. Is there anyone on the commission that wants to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public who wants to hear that case present? If not, we'll take that on consent. The next case is 2.3, one-step final plat in Herrera First Edition. Is there anyone on the commission that wants to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public present that wants to hear that case? We'll take that on consent.
Motion to approve 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3.
Second.
I have Mr. Blick moving and Mr. Green second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, we have public vacation hearings. And the first one is vacation 2023-00040. It's a vacation request in the city to vacation a portion of a platted setback to permit construction of a garage. Property generally located on the north side of East Central Avenue and 1/4 mile east of North Woodlawn. Does anyone on the commission want to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public who wants to hear that case? No, we'll take that on consent. Next item is vacation 2023-00041. It's a vacation request in the county for vacate a setback zoned rural residential generally located 450 meters west of the intersection of West 55th Street South and 231st Street West. Is there anyone on the commission that wants to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public that wants to hear that case? If not, we'll take that on commission.
I move for approval of 3.1, 3.2.
Second.
We have Mr. Joe Johnson moved and Mr. Williams Bay second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Where is that live mic? I'll get you. Yeah, there he is, right there. Alive and well. Okay, the first case we will hear, it's recommended to decline, and we have a request from the agent to move this to the end of our agenda today. And in order to do that, we need a motion from the commission to approve that moving of the agenda item.
So moved.
Okay, we have Mr. Aldrich moved, and Mr. Green second.
What's the
All those
reason?
in favor say aye.
Wait, what's the reason for it?
The agent contacted us before the meeting. He had a conflict this morning that got him out of his office late. He is coming up from Oklahoma, so he reached out to us and said that he is on his way here and requested us to move it to the end of the agenda. I did inform him that if we get to it before he gets here, the board would take whatever action they saw fit at that point, but we could at least do him the favor of possibly moving it to give him a chance to be here.
Thank you. That he's trying to wear us out or something.
Well, we'll see if he's here when we get to that point and deal with it at that time. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the next item, 4.2, is Con 2023-00051. It's a conditional request in the city for personal care use of property zoned general office located on the southeast corner of North Oliver Avenue and East 21st Street North. Does anyone on the commission want to hear that case? Is there anyone in the audience present that wants to hear that case? Okay, we have one that wants to hear that case. We will hear that case. Next case, 4.3, is Con 2023-00052. Conditional use request in the city to modify a previous 00022 site plan for the expansion of an existing substation on property zoned LI, Limited Industrial District, generally bounded by East Central, East 3rd Street, and North Meade Avenue and North Rock Island. Is there anyone here that would like to hear, on the commission, that would like to hear this case? Is there anyone from the public here that would like to hear it? We will hear that case. Next case is PUD 2023-00011. Zone change request in the city from single-family residential to planned unit development, number 116, to allow for vehicle storage, yard, and industrial operation located on the north side of West MacArthur Road and within 1/2 mile of South Seneca. Is anyone on the commission want to hear that? Mr. Blick, we will hear that case. Next case is ZON 2023-00057. Zone change request in the county from rural residential to general commercial to expand manufacturing use on the site located on the northeast corner of 143rd Street East and East 170th Street North. Anyone on the commission want to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public that wants to hear that case? If not, we'll take that on consent. The final case is a item submitted by staff on Unified Zoning Code Amendment for the use use regulations table. I would ask, we have all received a copy of that. Is there anyone from the public that wants to hear this case? Excuse me, go ahead.
Sir, just one quick update on that. There was a handout that was provided to you at your tables this afternoon. And what this is a supplement to that table just to make sure that short-term rentals is included as part of that. So I just wanted to make you aware that we are recommending that you would approve it with the table as presented in the staff report plus this addition of the short-term rentals.
Does anyone want to hear that case, that presentation on the commission? If not, we can take it by consent.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve items 4.5 and 4.6.
Second.
Mr. Green moved and Mr. Williams Bay, was it, seconded? All those in favor say aye.
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 Go back to, where are we? We're going to hear item 4.2.
I was the person in the public who asked for that, and I withdraw my ask for that, if that's okay, sorry.
I move we approve 4.2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Johnson, Joe Johnson, and a second from Mr. Green. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next item we're going to hear is 4.3. Can we call on the staff to give us a presentation?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christina Reith, Associate Planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. This is case number CON 2023-00052. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow utility major on a property zoned LI Limited Industrial District. The property is total 1.81 acres in size, and its address is 402 North Mead Avenue, but as you can see on the zoning map here, it's bounded by East 3rd Street North, south of Central Avenue, and then between North Mead Avenue and North Rock Island Avenue. The applicant is requesting the conditional use to expand the existing substation, which was completed around 1950. So if we look at in the middle here, we have the electrical substation. And then towards the top here, we have a small manufacturing facility located at 433 North Rock Island Avenue. At the bottom here, we have the Keep Clean building at 800 East 3rd Street North. And at the top here, we have an upholstery business that was originally constructed as a Phillips 66 station. You guys may recall that earlier this year, the Wichita City Council approved a conditional use to expand the substation, but it did not include this property to the north along East Central Avenue. Paul, could we go to the site plan, please? Thank you. So this site plan and proposed demolition will be reviewed by the Wichita Historic Preservation Board on November 13th. And as a condition of approval of this conditional use request, staff also recommends the applicant be required to submit a site plan for review by the Wichita Historic Preservation Board with an appeal to the Wichita City Council. The subject site is unplatted. The property is exempt from platting due to its public utility status. Just a little bit of case history. I mentioned CON 2023-00022, and that it did not include the Phillips 66 station property. The proposed application is in conformance with the Community Investments Plan. When we take a look at the 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map, it identifies the area in which the site is located to be appropriate for residential and employment mix. And then if we look at the locational guidelines, one of the locational guidelines within the established central area, quote, encourages infill development that maximizes public investment in existing and planned infrastructure and services. The requested conditional use is also in conformance with the goals of the Wichita Places for People Plan. It aligns with what we call Strategy 6, which is to encourage infill and redevelopment that is contextual to the environment in which it is occurring. Based upon the information available at the time the staff report was prepared, staff recommends that the conditional use be approved, subject to the conditions that are listed in your staff report. I do want to emphasize that the final site plan must be reviewed by the Wichita Historic Preservation Board with an appeal to City Council prior to the issuance of building permits. I say this because if we look at the golden rules here, if we jump to number 3, The removal of restrictions may impact the integrity of the historic buildings on site. However, one of the conditions of approval, which requires final site plan from the Wichita Historic Preservation Board with appeal to the Wichita City Council, may mitigate these detrimental impacts. Now, I have not received any comment in response to the requested conditional use, but I have received comments from the public regarding the Historic Preservation Board report, and that will be on November 13th. So let's go through some of the site photos, please. This is looking north towards the Keep Clean building that is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Next slide, please. This is looking east towards the Keep Clean building. So the site plan proposes demolition of these additions here onto the Keep Clean building. Next slide, please. And this is looking east towards the Keep Clean building. Now this part will be where you can see the sawtooth roof here. That will be, they're proposing to preserve that structure. Next slide, please. This is looking east towards the office spaces. So the one on the left here is part of the Phillips 66 station property. And they are proposing to demolish that building along with the ones on the office spaces here. Next slide, please. This is looking east towards the existing substation. Next slide, please. This is looking south towards the Phillips 66 station. Now we can see the gable roof here and the shed roof here. This is also part of the proposed demolition. The original building here that was constructed in 1927 will remain intact. Next slide, please. This is looking west towards the site. Next slide, please. This is looking west towards the substation. Next slide, please. This is looking west towards the office spaces, so the other side. This is on Rock Island. Next slide, please. And this is looking west towards the bays. So the bays that we see on the right here, those, the facade of that, they are proposing to preserve. Next slide, please. This is looking west towards the Phillips 66 station. Next slide, please. And west towards the substation again. Do we have more photos? Next slide, please. Oh, I'm there with photos. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Does anyone on the commission have questions of staff on this? If not, a call on agent or applicant. Please state your name and address, and you will have 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, Rebecca Melius, PEC 303 South Topeka, agent for the applicant. I do have Evergy staff here if there's any specific questions about the significance of the project and the substation expansion need. We're obviously in agreement with staff comment and very aware of the historical relevance of the area. And so we're in agreement with staff comment. We're working through all of the different discussions and approval processes, both through the planning department and MAPC to be able to make the project happen. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions from staff? Excuse me, from the planning commission at this point? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item at this point? Please state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is John Carmichael. My residence address is 1475 North Leonette Street here in Wichita. My business address is 300 Southwest 10th Street, Topeka, Kansas 66627. This property is not actually by the way, I'm a member of the state legislature. This property is not within my legislative district, but I think you should understand that we've had ongoing conversations with the applicant concerning this project, and we've been told that quite frankly, if they don't get to expand their substation here, the result will be power lines similar to what you've seen in 67214 along North Emporia Street in front of a number of historic homes there. When this was first presented to neighbors and other interested people, the scheme was to take down a portion of the Keep Clean building, which is at the south end of that tract, and not touch any of the properties which are the subject of the present application. Then they came in and got a conditional use permit last summer. Quite honestly, I missed it. And unfortunately, they received permission to demolish essentially all of the Keep Clean building, maintaining 2 facades and 1 tower. The reason it's important in this context is Evergy has always maintained that if they could just take a part of the Keep Clean building, they had enough space to do their substation. But now they come back and have taken a new position that we need the entire block. So the intention is to demolish 4 historic structures in Wichita, leaving remnants of 2. I would suggest to you, 1, they've made no showing that it is necessary that they have the entire block. They had enough the last time they were here to see you. What has happened here is a situation you may not be able to stop because, quite frankly, within your jurisdiction, this meets a number of the criterion. It's obviously going to the Historic Preservation Board. I anticipate the board, both state and local, will follow the law, deny the applications. It'll go to the City Council, and we'll decide whether we tear down 4 historic structures in Wichita for a facility that Evergy already has enough room to accommodate their needs. I don't want to take more of your time except to say I'm here to try to give you the context of where this has been and where it is going. And I would also suggest to you that a condition you ought consider placing on the entire parcel is non-transparent screening of this substation from the public ways. This is immediately north of the Old Town development. This is potentially the north gate to Old Town at the very minimum. I would urge you to require them to put up screening, not chain link fences. My time has expired. I'd be happy to answer your questions. My colleague Claire Willenberg, one of our neighbors, knows a lot more about this than I do. But if you have questions for me, I'd be happy to respond. Elsewise, I'm doing Lawrence in 2.5 hours and Topeka later this evening. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public? Oh, excuse me, Mr. Aldridge.
Sir, I got a quick question. Do you know whether or not Evergy currently owns the property in question, the whole block there?
My understanding is, and you can verify it with them, that they hold options originally on the Keep Clean property. Then they were later able to obtain options on the buildings that are at the north end. So I think they are under option. They also, of course, have eminent domain power if they really want to go to court and fight over it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Claire Willenberg, 1402 North Garland, North Riverside. I've lived in Wichita most of my life, and for several decades have rotated onto the City Historic Preservation Board, and am currently a member. Since I've been here so long, obviously I'm older than dirt, I've learned our city has an amazing history of outstanding people and culture and architecture, of which we should be proud and we should promote. Wichita does not have, unfortunately, a good record for preserving our best of our past. So I, like so many others, try to help protect the history and structures that we have remaining, and we ask for your support. I'm not speaking for the Historic Preservation Board, but as a private citizen. However, some of my concern and confusion stems from what I've learned from Evergy presentations to the Historic Board. I am totally supportive of an upgrade of the Meade substation. It's necessary, it's needed. But I have questions about this proposal and whether there is no feasible or prudent alternative to demolishing portions of especially the two historically listed properties. One, the Phillips Station, is the first Phillips Station in Kansas, maybe everywhere. Is that right, Christina? In America. And it's only local listed, but by demolishing parts of it, which are historically significant, we will lose that protection. I'm more concerned actually about the Keep Clean building, which is on the National Historic Register. I think the demolition they're proposing and the use of the remaining parts of that structure are very confusing and unclear. To their credit, they've been to our board meetings numerous times explaining what they think they will be doing. What this proposal states, as my colleague, if I can call him that, John, has stated, was to preserve only the outside shell of the south and the east facade and the very small corner portion that we're calling the tower. Now, this building has been beautifully restored. It's functional. We don't want just the facade, which this still states, in contrast to what the site plan shows. May I ask for another minute?
Yes, you can have another minute.
I'm more than halfway through. Evergy first proposed in the discussion that they only save the facade of two outside walls, leaving a shell. They've come back and said they can leave up to the sawtooth, but I don't really see that stated in this proposal or the one that passed earlier in June, which means I'm confused. Considering the zoning uses and character of the neighborhood, going to point number 2, the golden rules, and Christina mentioned number 3, but this is number 1. I think historically this area included residences, a church, a baking company, a junkyard, warehouses, some of which still remain. Removal of portions of the existing buildings will detrimentally affect the character of the neighborhood. And it does abut across the street are apartments and another National Historic listed building, and right up to Old Town. As you know, we are...
Ma'am, your time is up now.
I just would recommend that we deny the proposal or put it off until we have a better understanding of what Evergy intends to do with the Keep Clean building remnants. They will be delisted, but we need to promote and protect the history we have left. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Any questions?
Any questions of the speaker? Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this matter? Anyone else? At this point, we'll bring it back to the applicant or agent, and you have 3 minutes for rebuttal. 2 minutes, excuse me.
May I briefly request an extension for double the time, as the Evergy representative will speak as well? I'd like to highlight a couple of case history items and then pass it off to construction.
We really can't do that.
Okay.
Because it's set in
That's fine. I'll go.
code.
No problem. I'll go quick. I just want to highlight that the conditional use you heard earlier this summer, as was addressed by the representative, was approved on the same conditions, that a final site plan has to be approved by HPB. That has not changed. I will reiterate also that a masonry wall is proposed. It is shown on the site plan that will be constructed as a part of this project, so there will no longer be a fence. So we are making the existing substation a more aesthetic looking development in downtown. And then I'll just reiterate that the revision here is to more appropriately appease the ongoing discussions with HPB about how to best preserve property. And then I'll pass it off to Jessica real quick.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
So if I'm driving down Rock Island,
Yes, sir.
is my view of the airplane over there uninterrupted?
From Rock Island?
Yes.
Hold on. Yeah, it is currently, if you wanted to see the airplane on Rock Island, you would look through the substation. In the future, you will see a wall,
A wall?
a masonry wall.
So I won't see it.
You will not see the plane on Rock Island.
So I need to go over on,
You would go on to Meade and see it on Meade. Yes, sir.
Q.
Jessica Keck with Evergy, 818 South Kansas. I just want to explain, the first application did include removal of a larger portion of the Keep Clean building. I think it's part of where the confusion might be. This second application, and the reason why we are purchasing the additional property is to allow for us to keep the sawtooth roof. That was within some discussions with the Historic Preservation Board, trying to negotiate and try to make this, as painless as possible to try to keep as much of that building as we can. The Phillips 66 building will not be removed. That's not part of the plan at all. It's just, it was included in the property. We had to do option on the whole thing, but the Phillips building will remain. Our plan is to keep up to the sawtooth roof of the Keep Clean building, and then, a masonry wall around the substation. Not the chain link. The chain link has never been part of the discussion, actually. It's always been a masonry wall. It's just what kind of one to try to help make it look, as much like the Keep Clean as possible, to try to help it blend, is where the question was. And that's all I had in 1 second.
Any question of the agent at this point from the commission? Thank you for your testimony. At this point, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and action. Any comments or questions on this case?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve based on staff recommendations and comments.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Aldrich and a second by Mr. Green. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So our next case is 4.4. We have a staff presentation on this.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. My name is Brad Etherly with Current Plans Senior Planner. Today, the applicant is requesting a zone change from SF5 to PUD to provide a transportation facility for over-the-road trucking and to support existing industrial operations in this area of Wichita, with a building proposed in the northwest corner and truck parking on the northern half of the property. Currently, a duplex and 2 single-family residences exist on the property. The property is a total of 3.34 acres, generally located on the northeast corner of West MacArthur Road and South Fern Street. The address is 1514 and 1530 West MacArthur Road. Some of the development standards that were included in the PUD include parking requirements for the proposed building, which is proposed to be a storage or warehouse. Use will be 1 space per 1,000 square feet of building area. And then in the future, parking for any retail, restaurant, or similar commercial uses that are on the property shall be in accordance with the Unified Zoning Code. The applicant is also proposing that the parking requirement associated with the outdoor storage of tractor trailers and equipment shall not be required. Outdoor storage areas and long-term tractor trailer parking areas shall be limited to the north portion of parcel 1. I don't know, Paul, if you can go to the site plan. Yep, so there's the parcel 1 that will be limited to the truck parking on the northern half. As far as setbacks go, they shall be indicated on the plan. Otherwise, they shall be in accordance with the Unified Zoning Code for the LI Limited Industrial District. Uses in parcel 1 shall be limited to those permitted by right in the LC Limited Commercial District, with the additional following uses: outdoor storage, vehicle storage yard, and warehousing. The max building height is 45 feet. 45 feet. Signage, any signage that is applied for should be in accordance with city sign code for the LI Limited Industrial District. They have specified that no billboards, portable signs, LED, or off-site signs shall be permitted. Moving on to screening and landscaping standards, staff recommends that the proposed PUD adhere to section 4B of the UZC regarding screening and adhere to Wichita Landscape Ordinance for landscaping. Screening fences and landscape buffers are required along property lines that abut SF5 single-family residential district. The applicant is requesting to waive the landscape ordinance for the outdoor storage area. At the time the single-family homes are redeveloped to commercial uses, landscaping shall adhere to the City of Wichita Landscape Ordinance. Moving to the lighting standards, the applicant is proposing outdoor lighting be limited to 16 feet in height. The UZC states that any outdoor lighting shall be limited to 15 feet when within 200 feet of a residential district. The applicant shall provide a photometric plan that shows light pollution does not bleed onto neighboring properties for any pole that exceeds 16 feet. So basically, there's this section here that we would be concerned about within 200 feet. If they go above the 16 feet, we would ask for some photometric plans showing that there's no light pollution going into the residential area. Property to the north and east are zoned PUD 66, which allows for mixed-use development of commercial and residential. And the other properties to the east and then also to the west are zoned SF5 single-family residential, and they are developed with single-family residences. Property to the south across from West MacArthur is zoned SF5 and is undeveloped. We believe that it is in conformance with the community investment plan. The site is designated new residential and residential and employment mix. The new residential category states that pockets of major industrial and commercial uses likely will be developed within this area. In certain areas, especially those in proximity to existing industrial uses, highways, rail lines, and airports, pockets of industrial uses likely will be. Locational guidelines state that industrial uses should be located near arterials with good highway access, and we believe that this site exemplifies that. Paul, if you can go to the photos. This is from the other side of MacArthur Street looking north into the property. You can see the residences that are on the property as well. Next photo. This is from Fern. Other places have it listed as Tammy Drive. This is the right of way looking east into the property. Next photo. This is another picture further north, but looking east into the property as well. Next photo, please. Another photo just showing from the east, looking into the property. Next photo. And this is south of the property on West MacArthur, looking east. Next photo. This is looking across West MacArthur to the south of this SF5 property that is undeveloped. Next photo. And then this is looking west, just south of the property as well. And I think that might be it. Is there another photo? Yeah, that's it. Based upon the information available at the time of the staff report, the staff recommends that the request be approved, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. And that recommendation is based on the golden rules. Staff has received one public comment in the last couple of days that was placed in front of you that you should have now. And that concludes my presentation, and I will stand for any questions.
Mr. Blick.
Question, on the front of the application, it has a diagonal line that goes through that property. Is that a utility easement? And I see it right there, that yellow line.
Yeah, it looks like it's just the way the lots are split. So there actually are 4 different lots in that parcel.
So that line, is that a utility easement or is that actual, because would that divide it up in between like a pie? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, then that's what it'd be?
Yeah, I don't think that it's a utility easement, but I could be incorrect on that. It looks like the agent actually has an answer for that. Sorry, I
Yeah.
forget to ask the
And
agent sometimes.
question right now, are they in violation right now? Do you know if there are parking trucks on the property right now?
It is not my knowledge that they are. When I went out there to take photos, I did not see any. And that was 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Okay, I was just going off of the statement that was on here, is that they already put a fence up and it looks like they're already putting trucks out, so.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Does the owner of the property live in the house?
I don't believe so, but I do not know for sure.
But the house is, occupant's not against
I
it.
believe that this middle house is being proposed to be torn down for the proposal, but these two.
The one up front,
Yeah, these two are, I think, duplexes that are being rented out.
there's no
That's my
objection there.
understanding. They're owned by the applicant.
Mr. Warren.
Can I go to provision number 10 regarding the landscaping and explain to me basically what we're saying there, what is gonna be delayed and what is they asking an exemption
Sure.
from?
So, Paul, if you could go back to the site plan. Okay, so basically this is, this dotted line is gonna be where the outdoor storage of vehicles and equipment is gonna be, where the truck parking essentially is gonna be. And so wherever it abuts against the residential zone, we require screening and landscaping. So they are proposing to build a fence line where the residentials are next to it and along the west line as well, since SF5 is directly across the right of way there. What they are proposing is that at the time when these residences turn into commercial uses, then they will also screen further off the south of this line. At this point, they're not required to screen until these become commercial, and they will do that. So that kind of explains that portion.
Explain to me the process of, I mean, this happens 15 years from now, who's gonna remember what was required of that? How does that process work to make sure that landscaping is put in place when it goes from residential to commercial?
It looks like Philip wants to answer that one.
Likely during time of building permits for any new commercial structures, the zoning is the PUD. They would have to read, the plan reviewers would hopefully read the PUD document. I mean, it's the zoning. They would need to make sure that any building permits comply with the zoning, and it would be caught at that time.
Mr. Green?
Is this property going to be platted, or will it be required to be platted?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
The reason why I'm asking is because if you look at the floodplain maps, there's a significant portion of the west part of that, of this overall area that's in the floodplain. And I'm concerned that if it's not platted, are drainage plans required at the time of, say, the building to be constructed? How will that drainage be identified and mediated if need be?
Drainage is looked at during the building review process, and so they do need to pull permits for the building and even to construct the storage area. And so they will have to take a look at that. I don't know what their procedure is after that, but it is identified anyway.
And Scott Wadle, I would just add that in order to be able to to pull most building permits, they are required to plat. So that would be necessary before they put structures up.
Okay, because I did notice that there's like 35% of the gross area is going to be buildings, so, thank you.
Mr. Aldridge.
Yeah, I just want a clarification. The two houses that are up there on the front of the property now, they are, or are they not occupied?
As far as I know, they are, but I do not know that for sure. The agent might be able to answer that question.
Okay, so if they're occupied, wouldn't that constitute somebody, or the fence required screening on the, just to the north of that?
Yeah, I believe that the code requires screening from residential zones. And so with these being residential uses, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's where that delineation is. With these all being all in the same zone, they wouldn't be required to screen for those residential uses. But
Okay, so
I could be
the
wrong.
whole property is gonna look for the zone change for
Exactly.
the PUD, okay. You know, it just seems to me, and I've got concerns that we're losing a lot of our residential areas to more light industrial or commercial locations throughout the city, and this happens to be one of them. Yeah, that's all the comments I have.
Question I have.
Any other questions of staff?
When you say screening, can you refresh my memory on what type of screening is required?
Yes, and I have the ordinance here so that I can give you exactly what it calls for. Screening walls and fences shall be constructed of standard building materials customarily used for wall and fence construction, such as brick, stone, concrete masonry, stucco, or concrete or wood.
Let's say how tall.
I believe it's 6 feet, 6 to 8 feet.
Mr. Aldridge, you have another comment?
Yes, I remember what my other thought was. The applicant, it says on the report, is requesting a waiver to the landscape ordinance in the outdoor storage area. Still on staff recommendations, if approved, on number 1, landscaping shall conform to the requirements of the Unified Zoning Code. So what staff is recommending that they will file or follow 100% of the zoning code, and staff is not supportive of the waiver, correct?
Correct. That, yeah, and the agent is here. I'm sure he'll talk to that waiver.
Okay, thank you.
There's no more questions of staff. We'll call on the agent or applicant. You have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Thank you. Russ Avey, Boffman Company, agent for the applicant. I will state that we are in agreement with staff comments as written and presented, including the modifications to our original submittal. Just to clarify one little thing, as long as this residence is intact, the screening fence will actually come to a point here. The drawing, I can modify the drawing so this stands out a little bit better. But it's going to wrap around to avoid this driveway, and it's going to come to this location to open up this driveway. Once up and until this residential structure is taken away, we would screen the balance of that, leaving those 2 drive openings gated, if you will, to secure the site. Just to address Commissioner Aldrich's issue, I couldn't agree more with the concern of housing. I would argue that the removal of one house for certain, or three in this particular location, at least in my opinion, wouldn't constitute a loss of a residential area. This area clearly is in a state of flux. Several years ago, we brought about 60 acres of industrial warehousing and manufacturing uses to the southeast of this location that provides provides several million square feet of warehousing. That warehousing obviously as a need for transportation services. This will fall in line and help support the area's industrial base, as staff pointed out in their staff comments. I'll stand for any questions that you may have at this point.
Mr. Blick?
So that diagonal line that's coming through there?
I'm sorry, no utility easement.
Okay.
And to Mr. Green's point, the property is unplatted and required to be platted.
The reason why I asked that question, I see a proposed building over there, and so I was just wondering, it looks like it was gonna be pretty tight over there if there was a utility easement.
Certainly, yes. So the way in which the various tax parcels are shown and which doesn't comply with the actual legal descriptions of ownerships, it doesn't make its way onto a photocopied exhibit here, but roughly from this point north and across, there is two parcels and then bisected with several tax parcels. Ultimately, again, you'll see a plat, you'll have a chance to review the plat on this, and you'll most likely see one or two lots.
What's your proposed screening that you guys are proposing right now?
A 6 to 8 foot wood screening fence.
Wood screen, okay. So a tractor trailer is about 13.5 to 14 foot tall. So we're gonna have about 6 to 7.5 feet of tractor trailer above that wood fence, basically, is what you're gonna see that's gonna be parked back there. Is that correct?
That would be correct. And what you've seen on the staff slides is the new owner and applicant has been spending probably the last 9 months cleaning up the site. So whatever materials you've seen, the site is currently being cleaned up, the house is restored as needed, and ultimately tenants will be retained on these two south residential or two south homes.
Photos, it's showing that's a chain link fence that was being put up. So is it gonna be switched to now a wood fence?
I would think that's not a new chain link fence. That will be removed and replaced with a wood screening fence.
Okay. And then the entry that's coming into this, you're gonna have heavy duty tractor trailers that's gonna be coming. Are you gonna have a standard drive that's in there right now? Are you gonna widen it? Is it gonna be a right turn only? How's that gonna be because of that? It's a ditch that's in there, and I know when semi trucks, they gotta really cut corners, and so that's why I'm trying to figure out.
Certainly, that opening will be most likely a 30-foot minimum opening built to city standards, as is the access roads leading back to the back portion.
Is there any other questions from the commission of the applicant representative? If not, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this application? Please come forward and state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, Trish Heilman, 139 South Fountain. Very quickly, just knowing that residential and trucks, sometimes when you run trucks, is there any, are trucks going to be left running on this property at all? That's just not a great mix with people who live, obviously, in those areas. That's my only question.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Thank you for your comments. At this point, we'll bring it back to the agent. You'll have 2 minutes rebuttal.
Tricia brings up a good point, one that I will not lie and say hasn't been considered to date. And we know that In working with Dillon's throughout the years, that was a standard concern of refrigerated trucks running, needing to run continuously in order to maintain refrigeration. If that's something the commission wishes to prohibit, I would not argue against that.
Thank you. At this point, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I'd move for approval with staff comments plus the additional stipulation that was just made from the podium.
Will I hear a second? Joe Johnson moved and Bill Johnson seconded.
Johnson?
Yes, Mr. Blick.
My biggest concern is the residential area. We're gonna be putting a trucking center in between on a residential on that north side. Further north of that, if you look back to the site plan, there's probably about 180 acres of open land that is gonna be possibly developed in the future, who knows? But all around is all residential to the north, even to the next street north of that. There's not very much that's in that area that's left of residential, unless you go further over to Meridian and then you go south. So that area, that's my biggest concern of it. And I'd actually entertain a motion to deny based off the 5 factors of the character of the neighborhood. Each side of his residence, it's gonna affect the spirit of the area, and it does not fit within the golden rules. And I just don't see that sticking a trucking center right in between. We're trying to fit it in between residential, that if they do decide to live on the property, and then on each side of the house, you're gonna have semi trucks that are gonna be 6 to 7 foot over the top of the fence line, and I really don't see that that's gonna be feasible.
There's been a substitute motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
We have Mr. Blick made a substitute motion and Ms. Fox seconded. Is everyone clear on what the substitute motion is? Mr. Warren?
I'm clear on the substitute motion. I have a question on the original motion from staff. Are you guys clear what Joe Johnson's motion had an indication as far as running vehicles?
Trucks would not just be allowed to sit and run idle.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, then we will vote on the substitute motion. We'll try a voice vote first. All those in favor of the substitute motion for denial signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Aye.
We better call for a voice vote, make sure we get this.
Yes, sir. This is on the substitute motion to deny. Dool?
Nay.
Foster is absent. McKay?
No.
Green?
No.
Bill Johnson?
No.
Blick?
Aye.
Nix is absent. Fox?
Aye.
Warren?
Nay.
Joe Johnson?
Nay.
Miles is absent. Zimbelman? Aldrich?
No.
Williams Bay?
No.
Okay, motion fails. So now we go back and vote on the original motion. Everybody clear on the original motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Get 2 nays. Okay, motion carries. That, I believe, is all of the regular business.
Mr. Chairman?
Is the agent here?
I got an email from the agent said he'll probably be here in about 10 minutes. We do have the owner of the property here. Technically, it's agent or applicant who can speak on the case. It might be behooving to begin the case. Oh. So Victor McAllister is who we've been working with. Oh, okay. I apologize for the confusion then. My apologies. Yes, he is 10 minutes away, but I guess we can proceed.
Okay, we're back to item 4.1. Please call on the staff for a report.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Christina Reith with planning staff. This is case number CON 2023-00030. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow the placement of a 92-foot tall monopole structure on a property at 420 South Seneca Street. The site is zoned LC Limited Commercial District, and the parent parcel is 0.35 acres in size. They are proposing a 800 square foot lease area located in the southeast portion of the subject site. The proposed monopole tower is under 120 feet, so normally that would meet the compatibility heights, that would normally be approved by administrative permit. However, it does not meet the compatibility height standards. And just for context, the wireless communication facility shall not exceed a height equal to the distance to the lot line of property zoned TF3 or more restrictive. For example, a wireless communication facility located 100 feet from the lot line or property cannot exceed a height of 100 feet. The lease area is 19 feet from the property zoned SF5 single-family residential district. Should the conditional use request be approved, the compatibility height standards must be waived by the Wichita City Council. Additionally, the subject site is located within the Delano Overlay District. Wireless communication facilities shall only be allowed as a conditional use in the Delano Overlay District, regardless if said uses are stated as permitted uses in the underlying districts. The proposed tower would be accessed off the existing driveway off West Mentor Avenue. The applicant indicates that this tower will be a monopole structure, and the proposed tower will be enclosed with a 6-foot chain link fence surrounding the compound. Based on the zoning of the residents to the east, solid screening and landscaping are required. The character of the surrounding area is commercial and industrial on the arterial streets and residential on the local streets. The subject site is located within a parcel that is developed with an amusement machine supplier. Property to the north of the parent parcel is zoned GC General Commercial and is undeveloped. Property to the south is zoned SF5 Single Family Residential and is developed with a single family dwelling. Properties to the east are zoned SF5 and TF3 and are either undeveloped or developed with single family dwellings. Property to the west is owned by the applicant and is an extension of the amusement machine supplier facility. There are no zoning cases associated with this subject site. If we look at the conformance to plans and policies, the requested conditional use is in conformance with the Community Investments Plan because the Wichita Future Growth Concept Map identifies the area to be located in a commercial area. However, it is not in conformance with the location and design guidelines of the Wireless Communication Master Plan. The guidelines state that in general, tall wireless communication facilities should be limited to heavy commercial and industrial areas, should decrease in height as the intensity of development decreases, with the shortest facilities located in residential areas. While the subject site is technically on a commercial use, it is also adjacent to residential uses. It's located on a residential street with adjacent single-family zoning and dwellings. Based upon the information available prior to the public hearings, planning staff recommends that this request be denied. And this is based on the golden rules. So we look at the zoning, uses, and character of the neighborhood that I mentioned before, where the property is situated. The site is zoned LC Limited Commercial District and is suitable for a limited number of residential, civic, and commercial development, including wireless communication facilities permitted by conditional use approval. When we look at golden rule number 3, the proposed site is not large enough to accommodate a 92-foot tower because it is not in compliance with the height compatibility standards of the Unified Zoning Code. The height standards ensure safety of surrounding properties should the tower fall. The tower may also have negative visual impacts on surrounding properties. Golden rule number 4, the subject site is not vacant. Number 5, relative gain to public health, safety, and welfare compared to the loss in value or the hardship imposed upon the applicant. Approval would promote the public interest in growing and maintaining reliable wireless services. It could also have negative impacts on public health and safety due to the proximity of the tower to the nearby residential structure, because the tower does not meet the compatibility height standards, which are designed to promote safety of nearby properties should the tower fall. Denial would presumably represent a loss of economic opportunity to the applicant and/or landowner. The requested conditional use is in conformance with the Community Investments Plan and the Delano Neighborhood Plan, but it is not in conformance with the Wireless Communication Master Plan. Skipping ahead to number 8, at the time of publication of the staff report, staff received one phone call in opposition to the requested conditional use. Should the MAPC find that the conditional use be approved, it is recommended that the MAPC adopt alternative findings supporting the recommendation. Staff recommends the conditions that are listed in your staff report, and you would also need to include a waiver of the height compatibility standards. Let's go ahead to the site photos, please. This is looking east away from the site, and as you can see, there's a single-family residential structure here. Next slide, please. This is looking north towards the site where the proposed tower would be, and the same house that was in the previous photo is now on the right side here. Next slide, please. This is looking south away from the site, directly across from a single-family residential dwelling. Next slide, please. This is looking west away from the site. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Mr. Chairman, we're hearing this because staff denied it. Is that correct?
We're recommending denial.
Recommended denial. Thank you for clarification. Not because of everybody objecting to it in the neighborhood.
I've received one public comment that I mentioned in the staff report.
One public comment. Thank you.
Mr. Warren.
Yeah, because the, to the north, I think it's to the north, yeah, to the north of this, looks like there's storage for large tractor trailers. Just want to make sure that's what I saw in the photos.
Yes, yes. Okay. And you can see it in the aerial map as well. You can see some trailers there.
Are there any other questions of staff? If not, we'll call on the agent or applicant. You'll have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address. Thank you for the staff report.
Thank you. My name is James Cardinal, agent for Verizon Wireless. This property was not the preferred location. It was the only location in the area that the engineers had highlighted needed to be filled for coverage issues that are likely coming just due to the demand because of the population in the area that are customers. We first looked at the Kansas Mason home. We talked to them, firmly not interested. And then, I don't know if this can scroll down, but there's two smaller long parcels to the south of the Kansas Masonic home that are owned by the city. We spoke to the city. They said it would have to get approval through KDOT, that we need a proposal. We sent a proposal to them in March, and I haven't heard anything back since then. So we're willing to work with the city on other options, but by the time that we needed to submit, this was the only option, and we submitted and would be willing to work however we can with the city to get the site there approved with whatever conditions or somewhere else if possible. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions, the agent? Yes, Mr. Aldridge.
How are you gonna overcome the heights issue by some chance that thing should happen to come down and land on that house?
Verizon.
What are you gonna do then?
Verizon could or engineer it and construct it in a way that would have an engineer's fall zone that would be less than the property line, so 20 feet, 15 feet. I'm not sure exactly, but you know, if there was a condition for that, then we would meet whatever that condition would be with the fall zone, and it would be constructed in a way that wouldn't fall outside that fall zone.
Are there any other questions of the agent? Yes, Mr. Green.
Yeah, piggyback onto. Yeah, I just want to piggyback onto what Commissioner Aldrich's concern was. That's my major concern with this, is the height of the pole and falling down on neighboring residential, structures.
Yeah, the only thing in this location, they may be able to reduce the height a little bit, but it wouldn't be down to a 1-to-1 with the parcel line. I think that would be 20 or 30 feet. That tower would not meet the demand. We could do the fall zone with the engineers and construct it that way. If there's another parcel that could meet the setbacks that the owner would work with us, such as the city or the Kansas Masonic Home, we would love to work with them. But in this area, this was the only landlord that was willing to discuss further and look into it. So that was the option that we had.
Mr. Blick?
You said something interesting. You said there's a demand in the future. Are you talking about future subscribers or people? Because that neighborhood's been built since 1940. So that's why I'm wondering if there's more houses going in there, or is that just subscribers you're talking about demand?
Just proposed new subscribers and the current subscribers that are demanding more and more data usage. There's probably towers around that area or installations that are getting to the point of possibly being at capacity, which will kind of cause a domino effect. So they try to fill those in advance before those things happen. So there was a need that was highlighted in the propagation maps from the engineers in this pretty small area to fill whatever need was showing up on their maps.
Thank you.
Mr. Green, do you have another comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering do you have any concept or any idea with the tower radius of 20 feet, that it would fall within 20 feet? How is that constructed? Do you have that kind of background to know?
I don't really. I just know that they've told me it's, constructed to fall in on itself, basically. Crumple in on itself instead of falling down or falling to the side any certain distance. And the engineers would, provide whatever paperwork and proof they would have to show that it wouldn't fall out of whatever that radius would be.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Warren?
Then a question for members, would we be interested to defer until we got something from the applicant showing that they could crumble a tower within the safe zone?
Yeah, Mr. Bill Johnson.
I would recommend that if we decide to approve, have the stipulations, they'll have to prove they can do that or it's not going to be approved.
Any other questions of the agent at this point? Mr. Johnson?
Are there other locations in the city where towers would fall on houses? Or is this unique?
I would offer that we don't know for sure, but it's certainly has been our policy because of what's in effect right now to try and avoid those kind of situations. I cannot think of one offhand that I'm aware of that would, but I can't rule it out.
If there's no further questions of the agent, I'd like to call on anyone present from the public that would like to speak on this case.
Thank you for your time.
Please go to the podium, give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Chad Davis, and I believe I'm the one person who called Ms. Reach about this. I own the residence directly across the street, and it is 97 feet to my front yard from the edge of their tower.
Sir, could you give us your address?
1003 West Mentor Street.
Thank you.
Now, in checking with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, they allow 1,500 feet out from a residential area. As you go in from that 1,500 feet, the valuation and the danger for a cell phone tower increases. At my distance, I can expect a 20% loss in the value of my home, which would equate to between $60,000 and $85,000. And as far as the danger of falling on something, this tower will abut main grid transmission lines for power right here down the alley. It is the very edge of the grid for that area. So if it falls, it's gonna take out the power to most of the neighborhood. As far, I can't withstand a $60,000 loss on my home. And I can't imagine anybody wanting to buy it with a cell phone tower being their view across the street from their porch. Any questions?
Quick question.
Yes, Mr. Aldridge.
Sir, I see you have a cell phone. You don't have Verizon by chance, do you?
I do not have Verizon. And I
I
do
do
not
try
have
to
problems
eliminate
getting
myself.
reception. I mean, I understand their need. I absolutely do. It is that day and age, but there is a better place, and the city apparently is giving Verizon a hard time. The spot in between the on-ramp to Kellogg and University Avenue is wide open, and there is nothing stopping the city from allowing them to do that. That is the
Any
perfect place
other
for it.
questions? If not, sir, thank you for your comments.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? If so, please approach the podium, give us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Patricia Heilman, 139 South Fountain. Speaking on behalf of WIN, Wichita Independent Neighborhoods, and saying that this lot doesn't meet, it's a residential area, people live here, it doesn't meet what the city has said. We want to use this kind of stuff for the transport, or the telecommunications plan. It's just not the right space. And I just ask you to go with the city staff's good recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? If not, we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I think the
Oh,
staff.
excuse me, that's right, rebuttal. You'll have 2 minutes, applicant or agent.
I don't have much of a rebuttal. I know that on the property values, I haven't seen any official certified studies that prove that in all instances, in all cases. It's a pretty gray area, so other than that, I think I'm good with everything. Thank you.
I think staff gave a very excellent presentation of why this should not be allowed, but I might vote for it anyway.
Any other comments from the commission at this point?
Yeah, just a question.
Mr. McKay?
This is to the applicant. Do you own any of that land? What of the land do you own around the application area?
Can you come back to the podium?
Sorry about that. And what was the question?
If you see this picture that you're seeing up there, they got a little red square or rectangle.
Mhm.
That's the location of it.
Correct, the proposed location, yeah.
Okay, do you own any of the rest of that ground around there?
The owner of the property or
Yes.
Verizon or?
No.
He's leasing, he doesn't own any of it.
Yeah, they own from this parcel line all the way to this west parcel line, I believe up to this north area through there. So basically this square right here. This is a parking lot. This is kind of a drive-through right here. And this is their back area that's vacant.
Billiards. So you actually have no ownership in any of that property, correct?
I'm an agent for Verizon. They have lease rights to that red area. The owner is United Distributors.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments or questions from the commission? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If there's no more comments, what's your pleasure? Do we have a motion on this to approve staff recommendations?
If they put that in the middle to the north of the building, they would meet the requirement, right?
But we can't, you can't.
No, I'm just saying,
Make it-
is there, on the property owned by the person that owns the property, where this is, there might be other locations on that property that would meet the fall requirement.
There could be, yes, but today's action cannot consider putting in another location. You
I
have to take this
understand.
one where it's at. It possibly, yes. They would have to come back with a new application at the new
Exactly.
location.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve per staff comments. with the 20-foot, well, no, but the motion to approve is their recommendation is to deny. So I'm moving that we deny the application. Yes.
Okay, second.
Is that a double denial?
Move to approve the staff recommendation to deny.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Cox moved and Mr. Williams Bay seconded a motion to approve staff comments to deny. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, I think that does conclude the formal business. Again, I would recommend that you keep the chart from item 4.6 for future reference.
Mr. Chairman.
Staff went to considerable effort to put this together.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
John.
I got a off agenda item I'd like to ask a question about. It has to do with our rules that we've made in terms of virtual participation.
Yeah, go ahead.
The question I've got is, we've got two committees and we've got alternates in place in case we need to complete a quorum. Is it possible that those members can participate virtually to complete a quorum, or do they have to be on site?
I'm going to defer to staff, to Scott. Maybe you can talk on that. I wasn't here last time, and I believe that item was discussed last meeting. You were lucky.
And I'll tell you, sir, I actually missed that meeting too. But I had a discussion with Mr. Warren earlier today and indicated that that would be a topic possibly for you and the rest of the commission to consider, and that if desired, that could be something that could be placed on a future MAPC agenda for you all to consider and take a vote on. And I believe that part of the reason why this is coming up is because of the alternates and whether or not the alternates would have to travel in for the meeting and then get released, or whether they could participate remotely.
I understand that, and I'm sympathetic with it, as I was an alternate for 2 or 3 years on subdivisions, and I always went in virtually. I think it has some merit. Any other comment?
Scott, basically the subdivision doesn't require to have a majority to vote on any item, does it?
That is correct.
I'm sorry, that's simply a recommendation. In this, I understand, I had to miss this morning, I had a flooded basement. So I missed advanced plans to bail out 235 gallons of water in my swimming pool in my basement. But, we in subdivision, I remember one time when I first got on the commission that Mr. Foster was the only one there, so we had a vote of 1-0 on a motion, but, yeah.
Jeff, I'm not sure if that's right. I think we really need to take some time and look that up, because we have had to make phone calls at the subdivision committee in the past to try and make sure that we had a quorum.
We have changed our bylaws since then to allow for requiring a quorum. We've got a problem if under a number of provisions that we've talked about for due process, to where, and I've been talking to a bunch of other attorneys about this or not, whether, it's allowed to have commissioners appear virtually, but not the public. And we've got some problems with that. So early on, the discussion was there is no virtual attendance unless you've got an ADA compliance requirement that we're gonna have to add to the matter. But commissioners, either you're there or you're not. And so unfortunately, I don't think we picked up on the bylaws changing those regarding the alternates for the advanced plans or the subdivision. And we'll just have to deal with whether we get a quorum there or not.
So that, again, that being said, you do have to have a quorum of the total membership of subdivisions or advanced plans.
That's correct.
That is correct, and I can confirm that. I've got the bylaws pulled up on my screen right now. It says if the subdivision committee fails to achieve a quorum for a meeting, items on the agenda for that meeting will be deferred to the next meeting of the subdivision committee.
Well, I guess it would behoove each commissioner to ensure that if they are not going to be in attendance, that they notify staff or the chair of the respective committees.
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
You know,
Second
it
that.
seems like,
Yeah, Bob?
you know, we just have implemented this thing and we've had, this is our second meeting, I think. And to my surprise, we're still talking about this, about not even giving this thing an opportunity, to go forward and to see exactly where this thing lies. If the worst scenario, why don't we establish a committee to review this thing so we won't be hearing this thing every other week? That was just a comment.
No,
I'd like to move that we do establish that, and we make Mr. Aldridge chairman.
I don't know that we need to move forward on that right now, but I would defer to your pleasure on that, Bob. Just don't put me on that committee.
But we're going to remember that it was your idea.
Yes, Mr.
But I do
McKay.
think,
I agree with Mike that I'm the one that's guilty this time. I just completely forgot it because of health problems with my wife and stuff, and so forgot all about it. And they even called me this morning, and I didn't even pick up on it because I was in the doctor's office. So I'll take full responsibility for not calling because I usually do. But I think that that's the best thing to do. If you know in advance that you're not going to be here, let them know. And if that doesn't work, then maybe go to some type of a situation. But I would not, I don't know, Jeff, if we would say within our bylaws, the only time it could be used is in the case of emergency to get a quorum to transact business or something to that effect.
Yeah, it will require a bylaw modification, so we'll have to talk about that. Yeah, there's a lot of issues that can come up. Like I said, we've got to have to allow for, if it's an ADA accommodation, we'll have to allow for somebody to appear virtually if they notify us and it's valid. But we really don't have any provision that would give, one party's, from a due process right, one party a right that the other one doesn't have. So, but we would have to change that in some capacity, whether we have alternates or whether we just go by whether we have a quorum or not, what we used to do.
Well, why was the bylaws changed to begin with? When I was on the planning commission before, just like was said earlier, we had two people show up. Guess what? We're the two that are voting. So I'm just curious, why was it even changed?
I don't remember why. I remember we did this basically when COVID hit and we had to meet, we had to have accommodations for the amendment. I don't remember that, why it changed from requiring a quorum or not. Sorry, I just don't recall.
Maybe we need to switch back the way it used to be.
In view of this conversation, I would strongly recommend that we try to roll with what we've got for a while here and see if we can't get back to working this out the way it was. We may have to deal with whether or not a quorum is required. But again, here you're talking about changing the bylaws, and I think we need to be very careful when we do that.
John, don't feel bad. We survived this morning admirably.
Is there any more business?
Hey,
come
we
before the
now have a
commission?
quorum. We can vote on the minutes.
Okay, I think we are adjourned. Thank you.